All right, happy engineer. Welcome back. You made a great decision to be here today because I'm with my man, the legend, Kerry Jack. What's up, buddy? Welcome back to the show.
Zach, my brother, honored to be here. And we're wearing matching red
Let's
flannels.
go.
Gosh, what a great day.
I, I specifically chose this shirt. And for those who are just listening to the audio, you might have to jump over to YouTube and check this out. We
Yes.
look mighty fine in our red plaid today. Um, Carrie, you were on the Happy Engineer originally, way back in episode
hmm
36, and we may reference back to that content off and on. So, Happy Engineer, when you're done with this episode, jump back to episode 36 and catch the entire deep dive into Carrie's Blissful Balance framework that's going to come up today as well. But before we kind of dig into some more meat and potatoes, I actually wanted to touch on Carrie. Your life has shifted a bit since our last
Yeah.
conversation. You are now Big Papa Carey. And I wanted to hear a couple thoughts from you as the happy hustle guru, as the guy that people come to for how do I manage all the things in my life? I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an executive, I have all these business goals, but I also have a family and my health and hobbies and passions, and you help people pull all that together. You just had a big shift in what you're prioritizing and balancing. What have you learned since becoming a dad about blissful balance and the happy hustle?
I will say I am diaper deep and low on sleep. That is my reality right now. I am in awe of all the mothers out there, especially breastfeeding mothers, because it is definitely more challenging than I thought having a newborn, but also more rewarding.
Yeah.
And, what I realized about blissful balance and just happy hustling in general is, and this will be a little cliche, but your time is your most precious commodity and you must be intentional with it.
Full stop.
Yeah.
It's super true. It's interesting how these cliche statements, we feel bad saying them again because they are cliche, but it's like they're cliche for a reason. There's so much
Yeah.
truth to it. So if somebody, maybe they're like you, they just had a kid or their second kid or their third kid, or something did shift in their world recently and they're feeling that overwhelm or they're buried again or time just seems to constantly get away from them and it's not working. What's the thing that you encourage your clients to do to get that reset or to kind of get back on top? How do you claw out of the dip, so to speak, when there's just not enough time and you're in that scarcity mode around time?
Yeah. Well, the happy hustle is truly the systematic harmonization of ambition and well being, right? The
Mm.
systematic harmonization of ambition and well being. This is something that I fully realize it is difficult. We have so much going on in this modern day life we live. In order to actually manage it all effectively and create that blissful balance, both personally and professionally, you have to assess yourself. You have to actually measure where you are in these different areas of life. And that's actually back on our first pod. We did the assessment. We have the Happy Hustler assessment. If anyone wants to do that assessment live, we did it on
Yeah.
episode, I think you said 36. So,
36. Yeah.
that's what I would say first and foremost. Like, in order to grow, you need to know. You have to measure yourself to find where you are lacking in your life, and then you can prioritize change accordingly.
hmm and I gave my real time answers to the assessment and gave a score in that episode,
Yeah.
which was both super rewarding and vulnerable at the same time. Like oh
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, how am I doing on these? For those who are on YouTube and seeing this, if you're on audio, you can't see it, but I highly encourage folks to go check out Carrie's stuff. I've got my blissful balancer, which has all 10 areas of alignment that is a part of it. It's not by itself the whole system. And we may come back to that word systematic because I think as an engineer, that really resonates for me and why your approach is so powerful. But
Yeah.
take us back through just high level for those who missed episode 36, the 10 alignments, what they
Mm.
are, and just a little bit of the mindset or the philosophy around why these are here and how that fits into the system.
Yeah. Well, just real quick, I burnt out as a tech entrepreneur in New York City, grinding my face off like a dog. So I feel uniquely qualified to speak to burnout. And at the time, all I was doing was working, right? I didn't prioritize anything but work. And maybe some of your audience can resonate. And so that's why I really took a step back. I folded my tech company. I moved to Bangkok, Thailand for about a year. And that's where I put the happy of my hustle, started to look at my life holistically. And that's where these 10 different areas of life came into scope. And I was like, okay, I do appreciate a good framework. And I know there's a lot of frameworks out there. You know, you got like the faith, the family, the fitness, the fun, 4Fs or whatever, five F's fitness too. But I just didn't think any of them went deep enough that really resonated with me in the most multifaceted life we live, right? Mm-hmm. And so I really sat down, and they didn't start like as flushed out. Obviously, no IP does, but they evolved and iterated over time. And it came time to put it all together, and we came up with 10 different areas of life, 10 alignments of being a happy hustler. And then we were like, okay, well, people will struggle to remember 10 things, let alone 3 things. Most people. You got a sharp audience. But the truth is, we was like, all right, we got to put an acronym around this, right? So the acronym became soul mapping. Your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. And if you legit follow this, it will take you to exactly where you want to go. And the S in soul mapping stands for selfless service, right? Giving your insight, your finances, your time charitably, right?
Yes.
Optimized health is the O, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally being optimized, right? And being very deliberate with your routine. The U, unplug digitally, right? We have to actually have it a part of the equation because we are so inundated with our devices, watching Netflix, scrolling IG, soaking up YouTube content, listening to podcasts. Like, it's constant, right? We have to be intentional and unplug. And then the L, loving relationships. That's, you know, what it's all about at the end of the day, the meaningful relationships in your life, your partner, your family, your friends, etc. So that's the soul part.
The soul. Let me stop you there for 1 second because I got a story for you. And
please.
And so selfless service, optimized health, unplugged digitally, and loving relationships. This morning, Johanna, my wife, who Carrie, you know well, for the listeners, if they don't know my wife, Johanna, she pops up on the show time to time. She's an incredible brand designer. She's incredibly creative, super talented. And we were talking this morning, and her coach challenged her to spend more time unplugging digitally and more time in silence. And she said, Zach, so I'm doing this unplugging and some time in silence, and I'm really surprised by what's happening. Maybe you can help me with this. And it's super rare, Carrie, for her to ever ask me for coaching, because that's like no coaching in the marriage. You know, there's like no coaching in the marriage a lot. And so I got to perk up every time I get a question from her. She's like, every time I turn off the noise and I unplug and I get silent, I start getting a lot of really random song lyrics in my head from like the 90s. She's like, my head just starts to fill with these really annoying, and I get stuck in singing songs in my head. Like, what should I do about that? It's like, hey, you know what? You probably need to go out to Montana and spend some serious time in silence to get away long enough to overcome the song lyrics fiasco. Yeah. But the bottom line was, it's such a foreign thing. So we're going to have to go deeper on unplug digitally and how we can do that, because for most of us, we never do it. And when we do, that initial experience is pretty awkward or uncomfortable. And so I want to go deeper there later, but I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Like, just this morning, we're talking about unplugging digitally, and she's like, song lyrics, where are these coming from? It's like, who knows, babe? I don't have the answer. I had no good solution for her.
Dude, that's funny. But the point is, though, when you do create that space and you like, you know, chill in the still, like you have silence, you'd be shocked what comes in your mind. Like, sometimes our best brainstorming and ideas can manifest in that stillness. So yeah, I'm a big proponent, and I'm glad Johanna's getting after it.
She's on the journey. She's on the journey.
I think everyone needs. Okay. The map, and then the M stands for mindful spirituality, right? Like connecting to a higher power. I personally don't care one religion or another. I just think it's important to have faith in something bigger than yourself, right? A, abundance financially. You know, this is what most people think is the most important, right? But Actually, it's not. It's a piece to the puzzle, no question, but it's not everything. You and I both know plenty of wealthy people who are completely unhappy and unfulfilled. But it is about having a system, save, invest, spend wisely, and a way to generate leads and create conversions and serve your audience. Or if you're working, perform at your peak as an employee for your company. So you're really adding a lot of value, right? So that's abundance financially.
I've heard a lot of people say, well, Zach, if I crush it in my finances, if my abundance financially is a 10 out of 10, I'm scoring well, I'm making the money, that domino falling knocks down every other domino. Like my whole life gets easier if I'm just making the money. And there's this belief that like somehow if I can just get the money piece, money's going to solve all the other problems and I won't have all these other things. And I think that's a load of crap. But I just want to know, like, what would you say to that person if they came into your coaching and you were working with them on the 10 alignments and they're like, hey, look, dude, abundance financially is number one by far because it knocks all these others out. The other 9 become easy. What would you say to that person?
I mean, I don't even know what the song is. The song Mo Money, Mo Problems, right? Like they're just different problems with money. Now, there's certain things that money does solve, like truly. And I'm not naive to think it doesn't help in many regards. But then there's a lot of stuff like your self-worth and actually having joy, connecting with people that you care about, feeling fulfillment. Money does not impact those like people think, right? It's just, and oftentimes it's sad to me. I call it the more disease, actually. A lot of people get infected with the more disease. They're like, I need more money, more clients, more followers, more everything, right? And unfortunately, they never have enough. So they're on this constant rampage search for more. And a lot of Americans, especially driven type A entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, business professionals who are really pushing, they are infected with the more disease. And for me, I got the cure, and it's gratitude. And I know, again, a little cliche, but focusing on gratitude and comparing yourself to you yesterday, getting better every day, not falling victim to the compare and despair trap of social media and all the other people in their businesses or their career path or whatever, and just getting better yourself and really, again, harmonizing that ambition and well-being. That's the cure to the more disease.
I love that. All right. Abundance financially. Keep growing.
Yeah. All right. Then we get into personal development, growing and evolving, or shrinking and dissolving. Those are your 2 choices. And, you know, if you're listening to this, you're obviously growing. You care about your personal development. And I think that's a huge piece. The second P, passionate hobbies, just really focusing on doing fun things for yourself that bring you joy, that actually maybe you have to pay for. They don't have anything to do with work or your family or anything else. It is just like, hey, I'm going to go fly fishing for me, or playing soccer with the guys, or training martial arts, or going dance class with my wife. I know you're a heck of a dancer.
Yeah, babe.
But like this stuff matters, passionate hobbies matter. And then we get into impactful work. It's kind of crazy to me, but according to Gallup's State of the Global Workplace study, they said 3 out of every 4 employees worldwide are disengaged and unhappy with their work.
3 out of 4.
Newsflash, 3 out of 4. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. 79%. And what's crazy to me too is that 81,000 hours of our lives are spent working. Like the only thing we do more is sleep. And you think about it, if you're spending that much time of your existence doing something that's unfulfilling, that doesn't feel impactful, you are going to be unhappy. Right. So these are big pieces. When you talk about holistically happy hustling, a life that you love, you have to include like, okay, is your vehicle going to bring you that happiness, or do we need to change vehicles and maybe different paths, right? And pivot. And I know that's what you help a lot of people do. And I think the work you do is so transformative, man. And it's something that like, I know I've seen you change lives for people. And I think everyone has to consider that for themselves, though, where they're at right now, impactful work.
I can't tell you how strongly I agree with you. And the way I say it is, look, the quality of your life depends on the quality of your work life. And if you don't love your work, you're never going to love your life. And so, I just talked to a lady yesterday, Carrie, and it just broke my heart. She's in a career path where she's making great money and feels completely trapped because she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't like it. She's not happy in it, but she doesn't see a way to make the same money and do something else. And just sort of has worked herself into this cognitive trap that I can't do anything other than continue on the road that I'm on, even though it is clear to me that that road is not making me happy. And it's just like, man, I'm so glad we're having this conversation so we can break out of that paradigm, because it's not good. It's not good.
No, it's not good. And just to your point, I will say you can't take it with you. The money, like, it doesn't go with you to the next evolution of whatever life is for you. And oftentimes people will sacrifice their soul for a paycheck, and they die early because of that sacrificing, right? The stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm. It just, our society is, it's sad right now, man. We glorify the grind, and unfortunately it just isn't something I subscribe to. So,
all right, land the plane. What's the end?
All right, land the plane. Nature connection, right? And something you and I did in the backcountry wilderness, right? Hanging out, connecting to this beautiful planet, but oh, by the way, protecting it, right? Being a part of the solution, voting with your dollar, being a conscious consumer, supporting B corporations, right? And focusing on that triple bottom line: people, planet, and the profits, and the nucleus of those three. This is all part of it. And nature connection is something that a lot of people are lacking, but that, how much better you feel when you do incorporate more nature, right?
So good. Okay, so real quick, let's take a sidebar and tell everybody about the Epic Adventure Montana Masterminds. And I wasn't planning on spending too much time here, but I think it's worth it because it was June 2022, which is crazy to believe. It's already been over a year since I was out there. You invited me to join one of these Epic Mastermind adventures, which, as you think about the soul mapping alignments, optimized health, unplugging digitally, loving relationships, mindful spirituality, personal development, passionate hobbies, nature connection, like that one trip hits 7 or 8 of these hard. And so if anybody's hearing this and they're just thinking, like, how can I absolutely put nitrous into my blissful balance, this trip is the way to do that. 5 days in your backyard, essentially, in Montana, not literally, but in the sticks. And
national forest.
It's just incredible place. I'd never been to Montana, and I could tell you, from the moment I landed until the moment I left, every single moment was memorable, impactful, and I mean, life-changing in so many ways. So first of all, it's just a completely unasked for, shameless plug. If any happy engineer
Thank you, bro,
who's really seeking to find that dance between ambition and well-being, a systematic approach, and discover this deeper, I'm just gonna say, please connect with Carrie. Go into the show notes, get the links, and go inquire about that, because it's worth 100 times what you're going to invest to go on that trip. It will change your life. Maybe from your perspective, having led those trips, what do you think it is about that nature connection when somebody who's not used to it really experiences it deeply for the first time? I mean, I know you bring a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business leaders in who'd never really get to do that, and then they experience it at 100x with you in Montana. What is it about that, do you think, that creates such a powerful shift?
What happens when you're in nature for that duration? Your cortisol levels decrease, epinephrine, serotonin increase, right? You ground yourself with nature. You tune your circadian biology. You disconnect from all the noise, all the electromagnetic fields, and you just really get back to your primal roots. Not to mention, like, the amazing people that we curate in this container. Like, it's very hard to get in. We say no to people all the time because we have a no douche policy. It really is. No one wants that guy or girl camping with you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so I vet people hard, and it's something that, like, you just can't get in the boardroom. You can't get in a conference room. We had a $15 million deal get struck on this last one, dude, with 2 guys around the campfire. It was just like 2 guys, fully raw, real, like, I want to buy your business. And he's like, okay. And, like, this is happening now. It's like stuff like that, won't happen because you can't build the trust with people with that transactional nature of a conference, or an event. No shame on them. I think they're better than not going to them. But like when you can really be raw with somebody for that extended period of time and you're camping with them and you're watching them brush their teeth and take a dump in the woods, it's like really build friends and brotherhood
Yeah.
and like a
Yeah.
relationship. So it's been cool to see, man. It's been really awesome to just kind of lead and watch them evolve. And yeah, just really, yeah, looking forward
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the next 2024 lineup of them.
100%. I mean, I would have in a past life, earlier Zach, a decade ago Zach, I would have had 10 or 20 excuses why I could not go on a trip like this. I don't have the money for it. I don't have the gear for it. I don't know how to survive in the woods for this. I would have had every excuse in the book. And I just going to challenge everybody out there. If something like this is calling at you, if you feel a nudge around this, please go after it, because you got to knock those excuses down. Everything about this will level you up. Part of that will be overcoming those excuses and crushing the barriers to making it happen, blocking the time. For a lot of my clients, Carrie, the idea of being disconnected from their phone for 5 days straight without being able to check a text, check an email, they don't even know how to make that happen. They're so plugged in.
Yeah.
Their team depends on them in such a way. They haven't built a system or delegation in a way where they're even able to do that. So just to force this into your world could be massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Just the fact that you have to that you are going to be off the grid, which forces you to be systematized. And it's crazy actually what it does for your business, where then you create KPIs for your team in your absence. And then you have a hierarchy, checks and balances, you fix your org chart, like stuff happens because of your preparation on it, not to mention your physical body, because it's no cakewalk where we go and how we get there. It's you're on your own 2 feet. There's a lot there, but yeah, I'm just grateful for you. And thank you for the kind words, man. I mean, it's just awesome.
Plus, I have my signature bear story for my keynotes came from that event, which you probably kind of scratch your head, be like, wait a minute, Zach, we didn't actually see any bears on our trip, which is true. There were no actual bear sightings. But I have this brilliant. Do you remember when Ninja took off after that black lab on the hike that day? Do you remember that situation?
Yes.
So you may not remember. Okay, I wasn't going to go here. We got to go here. 10 minutes before that moment, we crossed that creek, and we looked at the bear prints in the mud along the creek bed.
There was a ton of tracks. Yeah.
Ton of tracks, right? So you and, what's Robin Hood's first name?
Corey
Hawk. So you and Corey are talking about the tracks and showing all this stuff. And here's Zach White and these other entrepreneurs, a bunch of rookies. We don't know what we're doing in the woods. There were a couple other legit outdoorsmen in our group, but a lot of us were newer to this.
Yeah.
And while it was really interesting to see, I'd be lying if I said it didn't also create a little spike in the fight or flight nervous system. My sympathetic nervous system was kicking in, because it's like, oh goodness, there's bears around here. This is a real thing. I need to pay attention. And I got bear spray on my belt, right? Well, that priming, that conditioning of thinking about bears just minutes before, when Ninja took off after that lab and I looked ahead and saw a black animal in the path.
Yeah, it was huge too.
It was a black bear in my head, 100%. I was freaking out. And I don't know if you saw us, man. You were kind of running up after your dog. A few of us huddled up. We're pulling out the bear spray, going nuts. This is on. It's like, where's the mom? We're dead meat. Oh, and then finally we realized, what felt like a minute was probably 10 seconds, right? And we realized it's not a black bear. It's a black Labrador or whatever. It's a dog.
Yeah.
But I use that story now to talk about the importance of mindset and perspective and conditioning our minds to think about the things we want. Because, when you're expecting to see a bear, everything looks like a bear. When your mindset about life is, this is how it's going to be. My belief system is, this is what's possible. This is what's not possible. It limits you. And so that story has become one of my signature stories about mindset and the importance of priming your mind every day to show up and expect the kind of success and results that you're expecting to create. Otherwise, you go through life at the mercy of just seeing bears everywhere you turn around, and that's not even what's going on. So,
dude, that's a great epiphany from that. And I think it's a wise lesson for anyone. I think they call it the RAS, the reticular activating system. And it's
Yeah.
like when you are looking at buying a Tesla, you see every Tesla on the road, right? It's because your RAS, your reticular activating system, is looking for that Tesla,
Yes.
right? Even
Yes.
subconsciously. So yeah, love that point.
So good. Well, Carrie, I know you have a completely overhauled version of your book, The Happy Hustle, that's coming out in 2024. And
Yes.
I've read the first edition. I loved it. As I mentioned, I've got my Blissful Balancer. I use this every week as a way to keep myself in alignment. I love your stuff. I love what you do. But tell us a
Thank you,
little
brother.
bit about what's going on with version 2.0, and maybe we can double click on one of these alignments that you've updated and brought some more power to with the new version and what you're releasing from all you've learned over the years as a happy hustler. So tell us about what's going on, what's
Yeah.
changed and added to the book, and then maybe pick one of these that you think would be really impactful for us to double click on.
Yeah. We say radically revised and entirely enhanced, right? The version 2.0. And the reason is because this is a whole year rewrite. I paid a pretty prominent publishing company to do a full overhaul, design edit, copy edit. We took out a lot of stuff. It's much more professional, less pictures of me and my Speedos, although there is one.
Oh, that was a
Um,
huge highlight of the first edition. I'm just kidding.
right.
Oh, I love
And,
that.
the thing is, we actually put data too. Like, and I know your audience is analytical and wants that data,
Yeah,
right? That
totally.
research. And so we put a lot of scientific research and data in there to just validate, also for teams, for people who are happy hustling and they want their company to happy hustle too. We talk about how you can do that. It's definitely a far better book, so much more proud of it. And we actually went through and put new acronyms. So it's an acronym within an acronym, right? Soul mapping is the higher arching one. And then you have acronyms for each of the 10 different alignments. And we also have action tasks and happy hustle hacks. But, one that I think would probably be relevant for everybody is the unplug digitally, since we were talking about it. Something that I think we have to actually have a system around, or else we just fall victim to our behavior and our
Yeah.
impulse. So we have to have a system. And I like to use the acronym BREAK, right? And so BREAK stands for barriers, recharge, eliminate, airplane mode, and keep. So first, we got to build barriers, right? Build barriers very simply could mean first 30 minutes in the morning when you wake up, you don't touch your devices. 30 minutes before you go to bed, you don't have devices on, right? So it's like that simple barrier will give you solace in the morning and in the evening when you go to bed.
That's really good. I'll tell
Then,
you an example of that. One of my clients
yeah.
really struggled with not having the phone in the pocket, and then once it's in the pocket, you're always paying attention to it. And he's got
Yeah.
kids. And so I said, all right, how about this? Let's let your kids do an activity to build a house for your phone. Get a shoebox, get an Amazon box, whatever, and it's a arts and crafts night. You do it with them. You're gonna make a house for your phone. And when you come home, the kids get to take your phone out of your pocket and they get to be the ones to put it in the box during dinner.
Oh,
Because
wow.
that
I
was
like
like
it.
his sacred thing, is he just wanted to have a couple hours with his kids uninterrupted, and he
Yeah.
was struggling to be present. It's like, well, what's disrupting you? Well, guess what? His phone goes, shocker. But it's exactly what you said. There was no barrier. And so we use that
Yeah.
little exercise as a way to not just create the barrier, but then get some accountability from some invested stakeholders. His kids,
Ooh, yeah.
they want to spend time with dad. So I love this,
Well, and
barriers.
I believe consequences create commitment,
Super
right?
good.
Consequences create commitment. And when you have consequences, I would even take it a step further. If you do touch your phone in the first 30 minutes, you have to donate $1,000 to the opposite political party that you don't like
Woo,
or
woo.
don't believe in, right? Like, think about that motivation, right? That's the kind of
Yeah.
stuff that I do with the Happy Hustle guys. We
Yep.
have consequences. Now it could be anything that you really want to set forth. Maybe it's your favorite dessert you don't eat, right? Or your favorite show you can't watch, or whatever, right? But it's got to hurt, in order to create that commitment. but
Okay.
that's how you can make sure you get stuff done.
Set a barrier. And if you're struggling, give yourself a consequence to up the ante and increase your accountability to it. I love that.
Exactly. So then we get to the R, which is recharge regularly, right? So when your phone's charging, you need to recharge. And that means really getting yourself primed and making sure that you are not having the monkey mind. You know, you need to take some magnesium before bed or CBD or whatever, like, so you can really truly recharge and just let it all go. Maybe you need to journal, right? And just do a brain dump, right? Stuff like that to really recharge. Then you get to the E, eliminate excess usage. So I think a lot of people, we get caught in the death scroll, right? Where you're just like, what? Where'd that hour go? Unfortunately, we are outgunned as human beings by, no offense, but the Silicon Valley tech nerds and people who are coding these apps and really building the algorithms that are addictive.
Some of them listen to this show. They know full well that they've
do.
got us
And
outgunned.
I mean nerds in all the best ways, but they are experts at addiction, right? Like in building it into their apps, because the more attention you give your app, your phone, the more advertising dollars they make. And that's the model, right? So you need to create a form of elimination so that, you know, hey, Sundays, I do a complete Sunday dopamine detox. I don't touch my phones, right? Or for me, I like to do a 7-day dopamine detox every quarter. And it's so crazy to me too, on this note, I look at my statement. It's like clockwork. I'll make more money that 7 days than the whole rest of the month. Like all the rest of the month combined, from just that 7 days of just being focused, right? Without all the dopamine. So it's like no phone for YouTube, Instagram, Netflix, or anything that provides dopamine. Now, if you need your phone for work and you're making like a sales call, you can use it, but like
that's it.
You eliminate the rest of that stuff. Then you get to the A, airplane mode, which is one of my favorite features on the phone. If you didn't know, like, people, you can just swipe down on it and just press the little airplane button, right? That's like, it's not that difficult. You don't have to be in an airplane to press it, and it completely eliminates the signal. So you won't get calls or texts or notifications. And it's a marvelous feature. So
this is, it's funny because, I got these super brilliant engineering leaders that we talk to and work with, and you don't want to patronize or talk down to somebody, but sometimes it's like, we do need to just come off our ivory tower of intelligence in life and kind of humble ourselves a little bit. Like, hey, there's a feature called airplane mode, and you can turn that on. You can turn that on, and it might just save you a little trouble in the evenings or whatever.
Yeah.
What I found is the simplicity of the solution is almost a barrier for us sometimes to using it, which is the weirdest. It's too easy, Carrie. It can't be that easy. And so I don't know. Does that resonate for you? Like, sometimes people almost don't want to do stuff because it's like it's too easy, or am I missing something? Is there some other real reason why we don't, take advantage of airplane mode, for example?
I don't know. I think habitually we just like fall victim to, again, our impulses. But it can be so simple. Like, you want to give your significant other full presence at the dinner table. Okay, leave your phone in the other room, or don't take it on date night. Like, that's not a hard solution to the problem, but we don't do it. You're right. Or most people don't. But
here's
those who do,
what I found on that. This just popped in. I'm so glad you said this. I've told a lot of my engineering leaders I coach, you're relying on discipline when you need to rely on design.
Ooh,
it's not a discipline problem. It's a design problem.
I like that.
Don't put your phone on the table and try to be so disciplined that you don't pick it up. To your point, put the phone in the other room. Let's design a better solution.
Exactly.
And the other D, if so, in the spirit of acronyms, or like not acronyms, alliteration. Sometimes people blame desire. You've got a desire problem. You don't want it bad enough. Carrie, you don't want to spend the whole night with your spouse or fiance or whoever, a person in your life, partner, and be fully present. You don't want it bad enough. How many times have I been told I don't want something bad enough? That's why I don't have it. It's like, I actually really, really want it bad. It's like, I really want this. But you got a design problem. It's like you haven't actually solved for the environment or this, to your point, the system. What's the
Yeah.
system? Let's get smart, design
Yeah.
it. So stop relying on desire and discipline and start designing a system. It's like,
That's gold. I love that. I might even have to do a podcast riff on that, and I'll give you credit for sure.
okay, brother. All right.
But yeah, that's really it. And then you get to the K, which is keep. Speaking of discipline, like keep control and just be disciplined. Discipline equals freedom, as Jocko Willink says. And it's like, you really have to have it in order to be unplugged in this day and age, because we just fall victim again to the ease and the convenience and the comfort of our devices. The scroll, it's sad how little stillness and quiet we have nowadays. Yeah. It's even myself, I find myself, and that's why I have an acronym for we won't go too deep into this one, but for mindful spirituality, which is SITS, CITS. And I literally remind myself to sit my ass down and chill in the still. That's the acronym, chill in the still. Right. And I just gotta sit down and do it. So yeah, that's but yeah, that is the break acronym. Barriers, recharge, eliminate, airplane mode, and keep. So there it is.
Super.
Anyone wants to unplug digitally.
All I'll add to this, I think sometimes we just don't take that one extra step of taking your book, sitting down with each piece of this and asking, what is the barrier I need to set right now? Don't overcomplicate it. Decide quickly, take action on it, and go. Do I even know what recharges me? That's amazing how often, Carrie, I'll talk to an engineer and they're in our coaching program and I'll say, hey, you're burning out. You got to get some energy in the tank, some fuel in the tank. What are the top 5 things that if you invest some time there, that it will recharge you? And they don't have an answer. They don't even know, because it's been so long since they've really put themselves as a priority or whatever. So I just, again, if you don't have a copy of Carrie's book, or even if you have edition 1, go out. We're going to give you the links and everything. Pre-order the Happy Hustle 2.0. What'd you say? Something radically revised and
entirely enhanced.
Entirely enhanced version. I'll be getting my copy as well. So Carrie, real quick, where can everybody find you, the book? They want to jump out right away and pre-order a bunch of copies for themselves, their family, their friends. How can they do that?
You could just go to thehappyhustle.com/book. And if you pre-order the book before it goes live, we actually have over $350 worth of bonuses, like legit bonuses, like master classes, a workbook that parlays with it, a whole bunch of resources, and much more. And then if you do feel called to get more copies, we have some pretty awesome bulk incentives. So if you buy like 5 copies, we have a really cool virtual summit. We've got a half-day mastermind in a group format. We have a private VIP day with me and like a podcast feature and some really cool like bulk. So, obviously get one if you're liking the message, and, if you want more, there's actually some pretty cool incentives. So, but yeah, that's the best place, thehappyhustle.com/book.
Okay. Yeah, that's brilliant. And just so people, as they're listening to this in the future, obviously most people probably hear it right when it releases, but it's going to be December 2023 as this is coming out. And the actual book launch is roughly when, at least at this point in
April
time?
9th. Yeah.
Okay. April 2024. So if it's before April 2024, get your butt out to the website and buy some pre-orders so you could take advantage of those incredible bonuses. And if it's after that, sorry about you, but you still need to get a copy of Carrie's book. So go make that happen. Carrie, let's see. I'm excited to see maybe if anything different or what's shifted for you as we wrap up today. You know this from our last time chatting. You know this as an amazing coach yourself. Questions lead, answers follow. And we're all on the search. We're all on the hunt for great answers in our life. How do I stay in blissful balance? How do I dig into this, unplug digitally and get results from it? We all want good answers. So for the happy engineer who's looking for great answers in their career and in their life, what would be the question that you would lead them with today?
What does success actually look like for you? Get really clear and define it. And that's something we do for each of the 10 alignments. You look at, what does a 5 mean for my optimized health? Like really defining it. What does a 5 mean for my abundance financially? What does a 5 mean for my nature connection, right? As a bow hunter, if I am going to shoot my bow and I don't have a clear target, I'm going to miss every time. Yet most people, we never ask ourselves the question of what is the target? What does success actually look like? And specifically break it down into those 10 different areas.
Yeah.
So that's what I would ask everyone to ask themselves.
Well, what a perfect system to follow to create the specificity. Because I agree, specific answers and clarity is the biggest gap for 99% of the engineering leaders that I talk to and coach. They think they know the answer of what do I want? What is success? And it's something broad and generic and vanilla, or it's just a direction. It's like a thrust, you know, or a vector. Maybe these are nerdy terms. Like they have a vector they want to head towards, but there's no specificity. It's, I want to make more money. Cool. How much? I don't know. More than today. Okay. So I'll give you $1. Are we done? Can pay me my full fee. I just sent you a buck. Oh, okay. That's not what you meant. So what do you mean? Super powerful question. What is success? And even more reason to get a copy of the Happy Hustle 2.0 so you can go through each of these alignments and get clear on exactly what success means for you in each one. Carey, I love you, man. Thanks for making time today. I know.
Love you too, brother.
We don't get to see each other as much as I would like to. Hopefully, I'll be back in Montana for another epic mastermind soon. You know, if I qualify. Anytime. You got such a high bar for the events. But
come on out, man. You're always welcome.
Awesome. Until next time, brother. See you.
All right. Thank you. Peace and love, everyone.